Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Epic Dad Legacy Podcast. We've got on Jarrod Haning today. I am super pumped for this conversation. We've been trying to make this happen for a couple months here and finally able to connect. And the conversation has just been excellent. So Jarrod is awesome, just to, to put it bluntly. So Jarrod has spoken on a ton of stages. He's delivered 4 TEDx talks and really focuses on mindset performance. So Jarrod owns a company called the Mental Gym, where they really help entrepreneurs, business owners, and sometimes not business owners, but more often than that, not really think more strategically in a higher level and access different parts of their brain on demand. As a result, most of Jarrod's clients end up doubling their income by working half as many hours. So if that sounds awesome to you, you probably want to pay attention. So Jarrod, thank you so much for coming on. What did we chat about during this episode?
We opened up with the awkward foray into our ignorance about veterinary medicine. Although it ended well. No harm there. We did cover a little bit about how your relationship with your kids is more a reflection of the quality of your business than it is your kids' behavior. And we also took a look at the frustrating blind spot that all the things that you think are good ideas are actually the reason your life is stuck at the level that you're stuck at.
Yeah. I mean, just awesome. And like big one on that, you guys will hear from the episode, but working harder is not necessarily, the best way to go. Right. And I fall right into that trap of making sure that I'm consistently taking action. I think I'm going to, solve the world's problems and get success. And a lot of times that's exactly why we're in the trap that we're in. Right. And so Jarrod just does an awesome job about kind of explaining our mental traps that we fall into, our thinking patterns that we fall into, and how to start to think about breaking those. So Jarrod, thank you for coming on, man. Awesome conversation. And guys, let's hop into the episode. Are you ready to become the dad you know you are meant to be? Good, because this is the Epic Dad Legacy Podcast, where imperfect action is better than perfect ideas, promises kept are more important than promises made, and nothing happens unless you make it happen. My name is Drew, father of 3, and founder of the Epic Dad Company. My mission is to help dads up their game and become the husbands, fathers, and men they're called to be. Thanks for listening. Now let's start the episode.
Yeah, man.
So we've been trying to do this for, I don't know, probably 2 months or so. And then I think I may have had a scheduling conflict one time, and then you had gotten the Rona one time, I think. So are you feeling better?
I am. I'm very, very, very thankful. I have a controversial story
Let's go for it.
to share about that.
Let's do it.
I have a controversial story. Feel free to edit this out.
No way.
So I had the Rona, went to the doctor, toughed it out, miserable. Before that, I actually got the vaccine. So this would be probably maybe a year ago.
Okay.
I got the vaccine. I got the follow-up, the second shot. I didn't get the booster 6 months later. I didn't get the third shot, but I get to the vaccine. That was horrible. I mean, I was just like, man, laid up for a couple days. Yeah.
Vaccine. Which one did you get?
I think I got the Pfizer.
Pfizer. Okay.
Pretty sure I got Pfizer. I didn't get Moderna. So that was a tough couple days for the vaccine. Although it was weird because I noticed that the day that I got the vaccine, my baseball pitching.
Yeah.
I am telling you, man, that's the best pitching I have ever done in my life.
I don't know if those are correlated, but maybe, I don't know.
But the same thing happened when I got the booster, like 3 weeks later. Same thing.
No kidding.
Day, my pitching was on.
They need to be checking MLB guys then, if they pitch like a really good game, just, hey, let me check you out, make sure you didn't get
that'd be cool.
Like your 25th booster shot,
So that's the background. I had the vaccine, which gives you a little bit of insight on how I value political spectrum stuff, right? I got the vax. I had COVID.
Okay.
And then I got COVID again. And I'm talking to my sister, and my sister is far right wing. Like, I mean, far right. Okay. And she certainly has paid the price for it legally for her involvements there. But so I'm talking to her and I've got COVID again. And she's like, dude, you've got nothing to lose. Just try it. And I'm like, she's right. She's absolutely right. I've got nothing to lose. If I go to the doctor, there's not anything they can give me. They're not going to give me anything for this. They're just going to send me home, say, sorry, dude, you just got to tough it out. If I stay home, I'm just going to tough it out. She's absolutely right. I have nothing to lose.
Yeah. What was she saying? Just try what?
Ivermectin horse paste from Tractor Supply.
You had seriously? You did the horse
Yes.
paste thing? They make like pills.
They do make pills. And I asked my doctor about it the first time I was there, and they nearly threw me out of the office.
Really? It's so crazy to me, like that you can't even have that discussion,
I don't. So, I mean, we've been given it for decades. It's unbelievably safe with like hardly any side effects. What's wrong with giving me this thing, even if it doesn't help the COVID? What's wrong with it?
It's one of the safest drugs, like on the record, and like we don't have to dive into a political rant, and that's not the intent of this podcast, but hey, you brought it up, right? So
I brought it up. So I went, I got the horse paste. I'm like, I will try anything once. I'll give it a try. I got the horse paste. I felt amazing. An hour later, took the second dose that afternoon. Felt amazing, and that was it. Never needed it again.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, did it? Oh man, it was amazing. So I recommended it to a friend of mine. Didn't do anything for him.
Yeah, I don't know. Different people, react differently, I guess. Same thing with COVID too, right? I mean, some people get like super sick, and some people just kind of it bounces off of them. It doesn't seem to be like any common factors. It seems kind of random at a lot of times. I mean, I think there's a lot of statistics to say like the healthier you are, right? Like the better you're going to be, but still though, like my sister, for instance, she is like into CrossFit, she's like one of the healthiest people like alive. And she got it the first round. It was like in the hospital, it's like crazy. And I got it and I sneezed like twice and I was like, all right, I'm done, and it's just, everybody kind of gets it differently, but so I'm not an anti-vaxxer, although I did not get this vaccine. Hey, if you want to get it, great for you. Like if that's the right decision for you, like I'm not anti-vax, right? But to me, it was like, it's four things. It's like, one, this is a new technology. Like as much as we want to say like, oh, vaccines have been around for a long time, this is new, not this type, right? And there's just not a lot of data to back it up, right? And so by saying, hey, it's safe and effective, like, do we actually know that long term? No, we don't. And then two, it's like I'm a pretty healthy guy. I like to stay in shape. Like I own a fitness supplement company, right? Like working out is pretty important to me. My health's important to me. So like that was one thing. It's like, hey, my immunity is like pretty good. And then third is just like I've already had it twice now, maybe 3 times. And like not really been affected. So it's like I don't need this, but no, it's caused a lot of pain on my end too. And like I said, I'm not like a far right guy. I feel like I'm pretty in the middle and just kind of common sense guy, I'm like about to get kicked out of the army. I think maybe we'll see, because
that's right. Because you won't vax. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think, the beginning of the fiscal year for the government is October 1. So I think they'll have a final, decision at that point. But like right now, like I'm not allowed to go put a uniform on, like I'm not allowed to go. So I'm in the National Guard. I'm not allowed to go drill. I'm not allowed to like get paid for any type of training. So we're kind of just in this limbo right now where they're like, hey, you can't be part of us, but we're not sure if we're going to kick you out yet. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's new territory. It's not really something they've had to figure out how they feel about what are their values.
And it's a lot of people, it's going to impact that decision. And so, on the guard side, I think it's close to 60,000 people.
Wow.
And the Army already can't retain people, and 2, cannot recruit new people at all. And so it's like, if you want to take just 60K people, in one fell swoop and like impact our readiness even more than it already is, like go for it, but like my perspective is just like, hey, these are my values. This is a decision I've made, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Army needs me a lot more than I need them. And so, if they want to make that decision, then that's fine. I'll just
Right, right.
go on my life, but I'd rather continue to serve. I've got about a year left, and I'm up for a promotion. I'm up for a new position, but just kind of put on hold.
Wow.
It's crazy, crazy times.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad the horse pace worked out for you, though.
Very, very, very thankful. And I was just surprised at how quick the turnaround
Really?
was.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know.
Maybe there's something to it. I don't know. How do you take that? Do you have to like it's just a block, right? I mean, you have to like legitimately eat it. I don't know how you do that.
What I got came in like it was a paste that came in a syringe,
Okay.
and you could dose based on body weight.
Okay.
And so I just set the dose for my body weight, which isn't 2,000 pounds, right? I dosed appropriately and squirted out a little bit of that paste. And it is, I mean, it is beyond the worst tasting thing you've ever had. But I wasn't doing it because it tastes great. I was doing it because I didn't want to have COVID symptoms. I wanted to get back to work.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome story, and I think I don't know, like more emphasis needs to be placed on looking at the underlying conditions. I think that cause like people to get really sick. And let's take a look at this person. Like, what does their body weight look like? What does their body fat percentage look like? What does their mindset look like? Which we'll get into a lot that has a big play on that, right? How you're thinking about getting sick and like what you have playing in your mind is going to play a lot into like if you actually do get sick. So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So I just wish that we would, it's probably too much to ask like our government, to not just go for the easy solution and to try to address root cause, which is a harder answer, but I think it's the right answer.
Both of those. It is the right answer, and it is a much harder answer. It's a much slower answer.
Yeah.
It doesn't put out the fire today.
Yeah.
But it is the right answer.
Yeah.
And it's hard. Man, gosh. Oh, that's true.
Well, Jarrod,
wow.
I didn't bring you on to talk about horse pace though. Well, I brought you on because one, we had introduction through a mutual friend.
Craig.
Yep, Craig from High Speed Daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Craig, he shaved his beard off too. He looks weird.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it. Okay.
So I'm gonna try to grow mine out now that I'm, not in the Army anymore, and maybe he'll have someone short, and I'll have to tell him to, catch up to me for once. But no, so we met through Craig, who's part of your mastermind, and just had nothing but positive things to say about you and your group. And so I wanted to bring you on and just kind of talk about the mastermind group, what type of stuff you guys are doing there. But I think just like your approach is very, very cool, and kind of just doing a little bit of research on you. It's very cool. Like I have a tattoo. Well, I don't have a tattoo yet, but it's one of the sayings that I love that I would probably at some point in time get a tattoo. And it just says gravity does not exist. And I love that saying and kind of that like approach and saying that like we don't know what our barriers are, right? And like the human mind and human potential is limitless. And like, although yes, there are like some realistic facts like gravity, like I'm not actually saying that I think I can go fly like Superman, but what that says to me is that like I have no idea what I'm capable of and what my mind is capable of. And so that to me is like just a huge part of what you have going on is just kind of unlocking the human mind and potential and being more effective and efficient at what you're doing. So I would love for you just for folks that don't know you, just give a little bit of bio about your background, kind of how you got into this and what type of stuff you're working
on. Quick anecdote on gravity not existing. It's my limited understanding that gravity is not a force. In the physics realm, gravity is not a force. And that's a little bonkers to me to think that this fundamental, constant
Hmm.
isn't really a force. It's more of a shadow on the wall. It's more of a
Hmm.
reflection. It's more of an effect. Like, whoa, that's
Yeah,
a
there's so much out there, that we have no idea.
man, what a fundamental effect to have. What do we call that? Yeah, my name's Jarrod Haning, and I spent 20 years in full-time classical music, professionally playing. But I mention that as a background because some people don't know this about music, but whether you are singing along to the radio, driving in your car, or beating your hands on the dashboard, playing virtual drummer, anytime you are engaged in co-creating music, you are using more different parts of your brain than any other time of your life. Your brain lights up like a fireworks show. And this is a sharp contrast to when you're using your brain for like athletic performance. The better your body is performing athletically, the quieter your brain gets. It enters kind of a meditative state. And this doesn't mean that music is better for your brain than
Hmm.
athletic performance. It doesn't mean that at all. What it does mean is if you are using more different parts of your brain on demand, then what effect would that have on your life if you learned how to tap into those different ways of thinking
Hmm.
on purpose? And so when I was a musician, I would give talks, the musical secrets of leadership, the musical secrets of productivity, teaching people how to think from different parts of their brain because it gives them the innovation they need to solve those problems. When I left music, and where I've been for the past 10 years is at the Mindset Gym. I train people in a series of exercises called mindset push-ups. As a result of doing this work, most entrepreneurs usually double their revenue in the first year. And we're using a Nobel nominated process that kind of oversees the whole thing.
Okay.
But what it sort of comes down to is you're only one thought away from your next breakthrough.
Okay.
The problem is you can't think of what you can't think of.
Yeah.
So we physically rewire your brain. Like you can feel your brain making new connections while you're going through some of these mindset push-ups.
Yeah, that's awesome. So two questions on that. One is, what instrument do you play?
I am a violist by trade, the
Okay.
redheaded stepchild of the orchestra. But I probably made my living on the violin, mainly
Okay.
because nobody wants to hear a viola player.
What is the difference between a violin and a viola? I don't know if I know the answer to that. I should.
So they're both shoulder instruments.
Yep.
The viola is slightly longer, about 2 inches longer,
Okay.
and it has the same strings as a cello. So think of it as an octave higher cello, just a high pitched one
Gotcha. Okay.
that
Okay.
you
So
play
is
on
it
your
is it
shoulder.
hitting notes then that the violin cannot hit, like lower notes then?
It has 5 lower notes that the
Okay.
violin doesn't have, and the violin has about 5 higher notes that the
Yeah.
viola doesn't have.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I say was because I have 3 small children and I don't get to do it very much anymore. But I was a guitar player for a long time. And played, on stage, not anywhere near your capacity, more of like, at the bar scene in college.
Yeah, man.
But no, totally get that of like kind of using different parts of your brain, like you can almost feel that like flow state, when you're just in a good jam or something like that. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in flow state. But no, love the guitar, love the stringed instruments. I've got mine sitting right over there, my original Washburn D10
Oh
that I've had
yes.
for, I don't know, 20 years now.
Oh yes.
And then I've got my daughter's little Yamaha sitting right next to it. So I'm trying to get her to start strumming a little bit too.
So if we took your brain out, well, you'd be dead. But the exciting part is there's a fiber network that connects the both halves of the brain so
Okay.
that they can kind of talk to each other. And that fiber network is called the corpus callosum. And if you take a brain of a musician and pull it apart at the half just a little bit, you can see with just your bare eye, unaided, that their corpus callosum is thicker than a non-musician. You don't need a microscope to see
Mhm.
this. And it's just because their brain has had to rewire itself for that much bandwidth of both halves communicating with each other.
And is that those halves, is it like, and you're saying that it's larger and you can see it with the naked eye. Is that like because of music forces you to have kind of, a creative capacity that you wouldn't normally have, and you're kind of thinking at a different bandwidth, so to speak? Like what would be the reason behind like actual seeing physical growth? That's really cool.
So the simplistic side, how people have broke down, like left brain is more logical and right brain is more artistic. But then of course you talk to actual neuroscientists and they're like, no, it's not like that at all. It's just a pile of goo, and it's not consistent from one person to another. It's just a mess in there, right? But based with that simplistic idea, in music, you're having to think logically, mathematically, predictably, but at the same time, you're having to think abstractly and artistically. And these compete with each other, these two values. And you're having to kind of hold both of them gently in your hand without crushing one of them. So in order to do that, your brain is having to get both halves to sync up. And it syncs up through that fiber network, the corpus callosum.
Okay. Okay. Well, so tell me about the mindset gym then. So what is this, and what are you guys doing there with some push-ups?
Mindset gym, under the principle that you can't change thinking with more thinking.
Okay.
I mean, you would have by now.
Yeah.
If you could think your way out of it, you would have by now. You can't read the label from the inside of the bottle, or you would have. So whenever something isn't working in your life, the relationship, the productivity, the business, the money, whatever it is, three things are going on. And this is where the mindset gym comes in. The first one is that you're doing everything you know to do. Like pat yourself on the back. If there's something else you could be doing, you'd already be doing it. What that means is that working harder isn't going to make a difference, or it would have already. The second thing is that everything you are thinking of to solve that problem makes sense. It's reasonable, it's rational. What that means is that working smarter isn't going to make a difference, or it would have by now. These are kind of hard, uncomfortable limits to personal development. So the solution, what's really going to transform that relationship, that business, your productivity, your finances, I mean, actually transform. I don't mean more of the same. I don't mean maybe a little bit better, but radically transform it. The solution will at first seem like a bad idea. If it made sense to do, you would already be doing it. And this is where we're at with traditional business coaching or life coaching or motivational seminars or books. It is well-meaning, good-sounding advice from your mother-in-law that doesn't actually move the needle. This is the situation you're at when you're 5 years old, you're learning to ride a bicycle, you're a little wobbly, you don't have it yet. They take off the training wheels. They take off the training wheels. You're doing the best you can. Your crazy Aunt Jenny comes by with some well-meaning advice. And what does she say? You need to go faster, because when you go faster, it's easier to balance. And you think to yourself, that is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. This is why they call her crazy Aunt Jenny, right? If I can't balance going slow, how's going fast going to help? Well, this is the same situation with your current relationship, your current finances, your current business, whatever's going on. People are coming to you, giving you well-meaning advice. And in your head, you think, oh my gosh, it's like they don't even understand the situation I'm in. There's no way I can do that. It doesn't make a difference. It seems like it should, but it actually doesn't. Okay, 5 years old bicycle. One day, you go a little faster. Maybe your dad pushed you. Maybe you're going downhill. Maybe you got distracted. Maybe you got a little bit better at handlebars, pedal, whatever. You go just a little bit faster one day, and you feel something inside your body for the very first time. The instant you feel that new sensation in your body, your brain rewires itself to make sense of it. And your brain goes, oh my gosh, now I understand. Now I understand what crazy Aunt Jenny was talking about. She's still crazy, but I do understand what she meant about going faster because it's easier to balance. Now I get it. Okay, here is the distinction. Before your body felt the difference, no amount of information made a difference. After your body felt the difference, no amount of information was needed. So at the Mindset Gym, rather than giving you life coaching, business coaching advice, which what a waste of time that is, or it would work by now, right? We just put you on the bicycle. Okay. And by getting that feeling inside your body, your brain instantly rewires itself and goes, oh my gosh, now I understand. And now you don't need the seminar. You don't need the book. You don't need the advice, because your brain is thinking that way on its own.
Okay. So it's basically like you guys are almost fast tracking like the physical manifestation of what you've been thinking about for a long time, right? Or advice that you've been wanting to get for a long time. So like that bicycle example right there, and instead of them going slow, and just listening to the advice and saying, yeah, that sounds great. Go fast, go fast, go fast. But like, I'm not going to do that. You guys just go ahead and push them, pretty much is what it sounds like, right? And get them to have that physical experience. It may be physical, may not in some instances, but to actually have that experience to where
to
it's
have the experience.
yeah,
yes.
to where it's going to, your mind is going to recognize that.
Yeah, we put the experience in your body. So if we were trying to teach you to ride a bicycle, we would put you on the bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
We would put balance inside your body. Now, a great way to put balance inside your body is a bicycle, but you can also do it with a slack line. You can also do it with a pogo stick. Right? I mean, there's other ways to do it. All of those ways are immersive, visceral, transformational experiences. And when it clicks inside your body, then your brain understands. So when it comes to delegation or leadership or systems or planning ahead or productivity or profitability or charging or lead generation or referrals, whatever it is, we put that way of thinking, that feeling viscerally inside your body. And when you feel the difference, your brain rewires itself. You can actually feel your brain making the new connections. It's similar to when you're reading a book and you take an old piece of information and your brain connects it with a new piece of information in the book, and you have that aha, that kind of, oh my gosh, eureka, aha. It's that feeling as you can tell that your brain is making new neurological connections. And that's what we do at the Mindset Gym.
Can you give me an example? I know you, like, obviously, it's a program, right? But like, I'm just thinking along the lines of like lead generation, right? Of like, if I'm just banging my head against the wall, and me as a business owner, like, this is what a lot of what I do, right? It's like, hey, I want to make sure I'm building an audience, make sure, I've got emails coming in and things like that, right? And you're trying different things, and some of them work, some of them don't work, and you're kind of banging your head against the wall, right? Of like, it's like, why can't I get this to work? Like, give me like, how would you change the mindset there? Like, what would be an example of an exercise if you're willing to share something?
Okay, thank you for your understanding. It isn't a proprietary issue. It's not like I'm afraid to tell secrets. It's a waste of time issue.
Yeah.
It's like describing how to ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
I describe how to ride a bicycle and you're like, oh yeah, I understand. You move the pedals and you move yeah, I got it. It totally makes sense, man. I totally got it. Right. The Mindset Gym is a visceral experience. Now related to the visceral experience about lead generation. Now, at the Mindset Gym, our definition is that mindset is a strategic way of thinking. Mindset isn't an attitude. Mindset isn't a way of looking at the world. Mindset isn't a personality trait. Mindset isn't introverted, extroverted. Mindset is a strategic way of thinking. And because it's a strategic way of thinking, it's something that anybody can access. Anybody can use that filter, that metric, to solve problems out in the world. Okay, lead generation. Now, if I asked you to add 100 new subscribers to your podcast, you would give me some strategies that would do that.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I'd probably go on Facebook. I might go on Instagram. I might go on TikTok.
Yep.
If I was under the gun and I really, really had to do it, I would be DMing a lot more people.
That was my first thought. I was like, if you tell me I get 100, I'm DMing.
Yeah, right? I'm just going to DM my face off and get him in there, right?
Yeah.
If I was really, really under the gun, I would be DMing other influencers that could help me get a few. Like, I would be calling in favors, man. I would just be calling in favors. Hey, man, I'm super embarrassed. Would you be willing to show this 3-minute clip from this recent episode? Because I think your audience would like it. Like, so I'd be doing that. I'd be DMing. I would be posting. I'd be going live. If I was stupid and forgot everything that I've learned about ads, I would actually run ads, spend a colossal amount of money for that one subscriber that I got by running ads. Yeah, and those strategies are great. Okay, now what if it was 1,000 subscribers? And you're like, I could still do it, but I'm going to need a year. I can still do it. It's just going to take 3 months. It's going to take more time. Okay. What if it was 10,000 subscribers? I think I could do that in a year. The problem is at some point it's out of my hands. There's only so much DMing and calling in favors and posting.
Yeah, I would need, scale at that point in time, right? So thinking about resources, partnerships, things like that.
Yeah. At some point, I'm just kind of victim to the algorithm. Like Facebook gives me some love, iTunes gives me some love, or they don't. I can only do what I can. Now I can cheat by, you talked about joint ventures, you talked about resources, buying ads, that kind of thing, buying exposure. I could cheat, but even then, there's going to be a little luck. It's kind of out of my hands. I can do what I can. Maybe we can get it in a year. Okay. What about 10,000 subscribers in 30 days? Right. Your brain's like, now, all that means is that your way of thinking about getting subscribers works for 100, but it breaks down at 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
The strategies that are good for 100 or 1,000 over 3 months, those are good strategies. They're really good for hitting that number.
Yeah, but
they don't work for 10,000.
Yeah.
They don't work for 10,000 in 30 days. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means that we're going to have to think at a higher level about how we're going to get those subscribers, because the DMing is not going to work. The posting's not going to work. The calling in favors is not going to work. Mm-hmm. Okay. So how do we get there? Well, let's solve that problem. What if you had to get 10,000 subscribers in one day? How could it be done? There's only a handful of ways to do it.
Yeah. I would probably have to do some type of partnership and JV thing where.
Okay. With who?
Just, other relationships from other like businesses, right? In the marketplace, potentially. Potentially people I've had on as a podcast guest, right? Of them reaching out to their list. But I think you obviously would have to have some type of influence from other people involved, right? You wouldn't be you just DMing 10,000 people in a day.
It's an option. Sure. It's an option to get influence from other people. I bet though, if you really called around and called in a bajillion favors and got like 25 guests from your past podcast interviews, I bet you could get 1,000 in a day. Mm-hmm. I don't know about 10,000. So how could we do 10,000? What would it take to do that? What would it take? There's about 4 ways to do it. Now, I think you're on the right track with joint ventures. The question is, who would you need to joint venture with that could get you 10,000 new subscribers in a day? Mm-hmm. Who is that person?
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I'm thinking of is just other kind of dad influencers, in the space. Obviously, I'm,
is there a dad influencer big enough whose audience is big enough that if you were on their show, it would get you 10,000 new subscribers? Maybe I don't know the dad space enough, but my hunch is there's not one quite that big.
Yeah.
There are some that if you were on their show, you might get 1,000 new subscribers. That might be doable. Okay, so where could you go where the exposure is so great you could get 1,000 new subscribers?
Go straight to the Apple iTunes top 25, right? And say, hey, if I can connect with them, right, in some way, potentially give them some value. Maybe that could open up a connection that would give a shout out or whatever, or referral that could potentially be at the scale that I would need to hit those numbers.
Yeah. So we could go there. We could go to the podcast where they have 1 million downloads that month, or 10 million downloads that month. We could go to those shows. We could go to those shows where they have 100,000 listeners per episode in the first 3 hours or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sure. We can go to those shows. I think that's a great solution. So the next step is, how do you get on that show?
Yeah. Right.
Who do you
Great
know
question.
that knows that person?
Yeah. Okay.
That's a problem you can solve.
Okay. Yeah.
I
So,
bet you in your cell phone,
mm-hmm.
you can solve that problem.
Yeah. No,
I
I
bet
probably
there's
could.
somebody in your phone that knows that show host personally.
Yeah, there is. I can guarantee you right now there is. Yeah. And so it's just, yeah. So I get it. I mean, obviously that was a kind of simplified exercise, right? Of us, just talking here, but I kind of get where you're going with that, right? To open up the new level of thinking. And so as I think through and say, all right, me, myself, what can I do? I could probably get 1,000 in a day, like myself, right? Like I can DM a bazillion people and just be like, hey, follow this, follow this, whatever. you know, but in order to get to that next level, you need to shift the way that you're thinking, right? And so I honestly wouldn't even have thought that, right? Like I probably have in my phone right now contacts, that if I were to look on there is one contact away from someone in the top 25 on iTunes right now, right? And so kind of yeah, shifting the way that you're thinking and operating at a bit of a higher level there, and just kind of like opening your mind, I guess, to the possibility there.
That particular strategy is add a 0, go 10 times bigger, and take away the time.
Yeah, and that's I don't know if you're a big Grant Cardone fan. Do you know Grant?
He's got some good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I would say he's got the book, the 10X Rule. That's a similar kind of mindset. Although, like I said, I'm not like in love with a lot of Grant stuff. I think he makes you think big, right? Which is good. And so that's what he says about goal planning too. Is like, hey, whatever your goal is, if you want to, make $100,000 this year or something like that, right? And he's like, just multiply that by 10. He was like, because that's going to actually inspire you to take action, and it's going to be doable if you have the right mindset to go after it.
It is. Now add to that, and this is
mm-hmm.
a part of that equation, add to that Elon Musk's advice,
mm-hmm.
which is there's no reason your 10-year goals can't be done in 6 months. So if it's 100,000, sure, put together a plan for 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now take your plan for 1 million and rework it so it can be done in 30 days.
Time. Mm-hmm.
And you have to throw out all your strategies. You have to come up with totally new strategies. Maybe you can't come up with a strategy, so you have to call in a friend. You're like, hey man, I'm trying to solve this puzzle. I don't know how to put together a plan that'll do $1 million in 30 days. What are some ideas that I haven't considered?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, dude, I don't know. And you're like, okay, who do you know that knows? They're like, oh, wait, now that you mention it, my friend, that's what he does. He puts those plans together. Can you introduce me? Great. Now you're on the way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I appreciate the kind of example and exercise and just wanted to get a better sense and, kind of what you guys have under the hood there, so that's very cool. So are you working, who is your primary audience then? Is it business owners primarily?
I deal with a lot of business owners, but the main reason I deal with business owners is because they value their personal development. They understand that their business is just a reflection of them.
Yep.
And because they have such a premium on that, they just naturally seek out ways to learn to think at a higher level. And I just happen to be one of those ways at the Mindset Gym.
Okay.
The other thing about being a business owner is, in order for the work that the benefits you get from the Mindset Gym, in order for that to start to show up in your life, you need to have some control over your schedule. Some people, just the nature of their job, they have zero control over their schedule or their time. So the Mindset Gym, they're just not going to get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
You need control over your time.
Okay. What would you say is some of the biggest hangups that you see with some, business, whether the business owners or not, coming in, and what are those limiting beliefs you think that you see most often, and where do people, what gets unlocked the most often at the Mindset Gym?
There's when we, I'm going to show a picture of it. Oh, this isn't a good picture, but when we map out somebody's thinking patterns, we're able to see like the algorithm that their brain is using to solve problems.
Okay.
And with that algorithm, not only can we see how their brain is thinking about solving problems, but we can also predict better what problems that they're in. And so at that point, it's a little spooky because it feels like somebody's reading your mail. Yes, I experience that all the time. How did you know?
Yeah.
How did you know that? Well, we can see here the way your brain goes about solving problems. And we can compare that to people who are struggling. And we can compare that to people that always have more than enough free time, always have more than enough resources, just keep leveling up and buying companies.
Mm-hmm.
We can compare the way your patterns cross in your mind versus their patterns. Now, there's a couple questions you asked me. One of them was limiting beliefs that come up. And another one was like hurdles, obstacles
Mm-hmm.
that tend to pop up. One of them that's pretty common is this idea that the best way to get results is take action. Now, on the surface, this seems like a great idea. Well, but action does produce results. Mm-hmm. It's not quite that simple. So what happens is the people that value taking action, go get her, hustle, drive. We burn a daylight. We'll figure it out as we go. Come on, let's hustle up. Go, 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 go. Yeah, these are great for starting
Mm-hmm.
companies.
Mm-hmm.
They're great for starting it, but within the first month, they're totally overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
They're just drowning, totally overwhelmed. And the reason is if your brain thinks that the best way to solve problems is take action, then your brain spends its time looking for action to take.
Yeah, just piling more and more stuff on your plate.
There's always more on your to-do list than you have time to get done. Working harder and faster doesn't clear it up. You're just constantly spinning your wheels. And you know you're spinning your wheels because you haven't doubled your revenue in the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. You make the same amount of money every year. So working harder and faster isn't making a difference. Mm-hmm. The problem is it's a blind spot. It makes so much sense that working harder and faster should make a difference that your brain can't even conceive that it's a blind spot, mm-hmm. that there's something on the other side that you just haven't seen yet. So this is a thinking pattern, a way of thinking, the way of thinking that says, if I'm in trouble, I need to work harder and faster. Right. And working harder and faster is what got you in that situation to start with. That's why you can't work smarter, because your brain can only think of what already makes sense. And mm-hmm. what already makes sense is what has you messed up to start with. It's a thinking pattern, a way of thinking that crops up a lot. The idea that more action gets more results. Mm-hmm. Look, man, I'm not going to argue with you, but if you're tired of having more on your to-do list and you have time to get done, come see me.
Let's say that sounds like me.
And when you come see me, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to put you through a series of mindset push-ups.
Okay.
We're going to put you to work in the gym. Now, limiting beliefs. Here's an interesting limiting belief that is tied to that. Guys come in all the time and they're like, no, I'm not afraid of success. I'm not afraid of success. I would love to be more successful. Bullshit. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Look at how you avoid like the plague the very things that will make you more successful, that you know will actually make a difference. And how, oh, well, I was sick that day. Oh, I was tired mm-hmm. that day. Oh, I had to take care of this. Oh, I had to take care of that. Look how good your brain is at coming up with reasons to not do the thing that actually makes the difference. Mm-hmm. And the reason is, and this is that limiting belief, the reason is that it is more noble to work hard. That hard work is more noble, it's more righteous, it's more meaningful and purposeful. The idea, though, is that if I'm successful, then my life is easier. Mm-hmm. I have more free time. I have assistants. I have helpers. I don't have to work as hard. Well, now that I'm not working as hard, at least that's the lie that we tell ourselves, then I'm not as needed. My life doesn't have as much purpose and meaning. So in order to keep that purpose and meaning, my brain constantly self-sabotages to make my life as difficult as possible so that I get that feeling, but I'm working hard.
Yeah.
And hard work is more noble.
Yeah. I would say I would probably fall into that too. I mean, like I'm one of those people that I always feel like I have to be working on something, right? Like if even if things are going really well and it's like supposed to be a day off, you know, I'll feel guilty, you know, I'll be like, well, shit, I should really be doing this right now, you know? And my wife gets mad at me on that because I can't sit still, you know? And it's probably part of that too, right? It is that kind of limiting self-belief, you know, of saying that, you know, I don't really want the success, right? Just that I feel like the hard work is the important thing, you know?
And hard work feels good. Like
Mhm.
it viscerally feels good. This is where good things break down at scale.
Mhm.
That feeling in your body, that feeling is evolutionarily refined to keep us alive as a species. Guys who felt like you did 10,000 years ago survived to reproduce,
Mhm.
but then it breaks down at scale.
Yep.
Now, guys who feel like you do don't live as long
Mhm.
because they just keep putting more and more stress unnecessarily in
Mhm.
their space. We have to learn to think at a higher level. Now, the lie is if I was more successful, my life would be easier. I would have less to do. I would have more free time. I would have more help. I would have less challenges. I would have less struggle. That's the lie. The truth is that more successful is equally difficult work.
Yeah, it's just
It's just a
different work.
different kind.
Mhm.
It's emotional. It's intellectual. It's purposeful. It's intentional. It's not with your hands.
Mhm. Okay. How long are folks typically with you in the mindset gym? Is this do they typically come in, like obviously you guys can see kind of what the thinking patterns that they have, right? And then hopefully they're able to overcome that obstacle and think more strategically, and kind of solve that roadblock. But I would imagine the work is not done there, right? Like there's always opportunity for us to be more strategic in our thought.
Um, yeah, a couple questions and a couple answers. The process does start with the mind scan. That's the tool that we use to map out the thinking patterns.
Yeah, if you
That's
guys
where we
aren't
see
watching this, it looks really cool.
it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
Jerry's got like an actual picture of the brain up, and it's got like red here, green here, yellow here to kind of show you like where you're thinking and what type of pattern you're falling into.
So we start there. It's a prescription without a diagnosis is malpractice. So it's just stupid to say that the mindset gym is for you. It's stupid
Hmm.
to say these are the mindset push-ups you need. It's possible that this isn't a good fit for you at all.
Hmm.
So we start with the mind scan, and that review process, just going through the thinking patterns. This is a Nobel nominated process. It is about an hour. It's just total depth, looking at the thinking patterns, the opportunities, the strategies, the ways that other people in your situation think different. And that's why they're either more stressed or they're more successful. We get to compare some of those thinking patterns. And then at the end of that, it paints a very clear picture of which mindset push-ups need to be done in which order.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the beginning of the process. But the other question you're asking is like, how long does it take? How long does it take to get out of the weeds?
Hmm.
And the answer there is it takes most people about 3 months to master the 3 different fundamental types of exercises. Like in a regular gym, you've got aerobic, you've got anaerobic,
Hmm.
different types of exercises. And then within those, there's a subset of specific exercises for building aerobic capacity or building anaerobic capacity. Same thing in the mindset gym, right? And it takes about 3 months to master the 3 different categories that we go to work in, making new connections in your brain. Some people, after that 3 months, have already doubled their revenue, are way out of the weeds, back on the beaten path, clear and free, running fast. And they're like, thank you so much. I'm ready to go to the next level. And I'm like, get out of here,
Hmm.
right? Because you really are. Some people finish that core set of exercises and they're like, so what are we doing next week?
Yeah. Hmm.
And they have been with me for years. And those are the kind of people that you ask them, when are you in shape? And they're like, what?
Yeah.
When
There's always,
you
yeah.
stop working out?
You
It's just
should
what
you
you
should
do.
you should make them do more of those push-ups. That they shouldn't be afraid of success, right?
So we do, like, we keep mastering and
Yeah.
refining, and we go back through them, and yeah, they're here for years. But it's
Yeah.
not that they need to be; it's just that they've become addicted to working out.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, so I want to transition a little bit, to talk a little bit about fatherhood. So I think some of the stuff that, yes, so some of the stuff that you're working on, it's incredible. First of all, just amazing work. But I think it can definitely be like directly applied to being a dad, right, and being a father, and trying to do those maybe a little bit less extreme, mental push-ups with your children, right? And just to kind of to bring them up, to instill the values and instill the strategic thinking in them while they're young. And hopefully that's going to pay dividends when they get older, right? And so, I mean, I would love to hear kind of how the work that you've been doing for the last 10 years has helped shape your approach as a dad.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Man, maybe we can edit this episode and start at this point and put that
Yeah.
other stuff at the end. Um, at the end of the day, I believe personally that your experience as a dad and your kids' experiences with you is just a byproduct of the amount of free time you have, the amount of resources you have,
Mm-hmm.
the amount of health you have. And my illustration for that is to just notice how you talk to your kids when you're stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
how you talk to your kids when you're totally happy. When you're stressed out, it's this list of right, wrong, good, bad, because I said so, do this, do that. I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to make you so you can survive in the real world. But that only comes out when you're stressed out,
Yeah.
when you're feeling under the gun, when you're totally satiated and content and don't have a want and need of the world, and you got all the time in the day, suddenly you're not beating your kids up.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, well, let's hang out. Do you want to play ball?
Mm-hmm.
Want to kick it around? Come on. So because of that, the biggest impact that I think we can have in a dad's relationship with his son is in the dad's relationship with his business,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where it's going to create the free time and the resources and the peace of mind and the health for him to start showing up as a better person.
Yeah, and then to echo that too, and kind of bring up that point you said earlier, right? The business is a direct reflection on yourself too, right? So I think what you guys are doing is helping people unlock, the thinking patterns in themselves, right? Think more strategically. That's ultimately going to make them a better, more strategic person, which is then going to help their business, right? Which then in turn can help your relationship with your kids, right? Because you're going to have more time, you're going to have less stress. So I think, ultimately it comes down to, making sure you are becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, because then that's going to be a direct reflection on your business, direct reflection on your relationship with your family, with your kids, with your friends, your community, et cetera.
You mentioned earlier this idea of like training your kids to make better decisions and to deal with things. And but then we look at the things that we want our kids to do that we aren't doing. The expectations we place on them, that we deceive ourselves that we're doing that. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're asking your kid to do something that scares the crap out of them. Right now, what scares the crap out of you? Going to sit down with a counselor with your wife because it's emotional, it's uncomfortable, and you don't want to deal with it. What scares the crap out of you? Dealing with that uncomfortable feeling you get whenever it comes time to look at your accounting or plan ahead or build better systems or delegate or train. Feels uncomfortable. It's just easier for you to do the work. That's comfortable. What feels uncomfortable for you? Learning to think at a higher level, charging $10,000 instead of $1,000. So we're asking our kids to, no, just go give that speech in front of your class. No, just charge out there and lead your team. And really? So that's where I think the Mindset Gym gives people kind of the best access to become a transformational figure in their kid's life. And there's a story I'd like to share here about how mindset is a way of thinking.
Yeah.
And how what makes sense to us actually blinds us from what's actually happening. And those blind spots are why we keep hitting that obstacle in our life. Now, a blind spot is something that makes sense to us. This is going to be incredibly frustrating. The idea that what makes sense to us is what has us running into those obstacles.
Yeah.
And here's the story as it relates to fatherhood. Guy is frustrated because his kids judge him for being a bad dad.
Okay.
And he's just exasperated. How in the world could my kids possibly judge me for being a bad dad? How could they possibly do it? Let me tell you about my dad. When I was a kid growing up, my dad never came to my sporting events. He never wanted to play ball with me. He never would buy me equipment. I had to borrow equipment from my friends. I had to hitch ride to practice. He never once spent time at any of my sporting events. I don't do that for my kids. I'm at all of my kids' sporting events. I buy them the best equipment. I'm always asking them to go outside and play ball. How can they possibly say that I'm a bad dad? Well, remember, what makes sense to us is what has us stuck. What makes sense is the blind spot that keeps us hitting that obstacle. What makes sense to him is that his dad was a bad dad because his dad didn't take an interest in his sports. He's taking an interest in his kids' sports. That makes him a good dad. Why don't his kids see it? Well, they don't see it because of the blind spot that makes sense. And what's on the other side of that blind spot is it wasn't that his dad wasn't interested in his sports. It was that his dad wasn't interested in what he was interested in. You see, his kids are interested in piano and theater and music and video games and poetry and Pokemon cards. And he thinks that's stupid, but he can't see it. The other principle in play there is that as you judge others, you will also be judged. So by judging his dad as a bad dad, he set in motion the mechanism that his kids will judge him. He just couldn't see that he was out of control over what his kids would judge him for.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. I think one of the things I actually just did a video on a couple of days ago was, like our job as a dad, I feel a lot of times is really to make sure that our kids feel seen, heard, and understood, right? And that goes like exactly back to that, right? That he thought he was being a good dad because he feels like that is what he was doing, right? He was taking an interest, but if he was to take a step back, right, and just take a step back and see that, hey, I feel like I'm pushing my kids in this area, but that's not really what they're interested in, right? And their kids are probably screaming at him, maybe not literally, but obviously dropping signs and hints of like, Dad, I'm this is not what I want to do, and he feels like he's doing the right thing by pushing them and making sure that he's there to push them. So yeah, that's an impactful story.
It's a way of thinking. And the reason we can't see the solution is because our way of thinking makes sense to us.
Yeah.
Taking more action gets more results. So you should take more action.
Right.
That makes sense. And that's why you can't see that. That's why you don't ever have free time. And that's why you don't ever have results.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I feel like this is a counseling session. I'm sitting on your couch here, Jarrod, So no, that's definitely me. I feel like I need to, like I said, always be doing something, right? I need to take action to get results, but that's something we can table and talk, one-on-one about, right? I can sign up and do some mental push-ups.
Well, the cool part is if you took the mind scan, sales pitch here, right?
Yeah.
If you took the mind scan, you would be able to see side by side how your brain solves problems and how people like Richard Branson's brain solves problems, or Elon Musk or Grant Cardone. We can see the difference. And when you see the difference and you look at the difference, it's easier to make that connection to how they think when they're in trouble and the results that they have in their life.
Yeah. Well, Jarrod, so tell me about your kids. You have a son, obviously. You've been talking about, playing baseball and stuff like that. How many kids do you have?
Okay. I have one child.
Okay.
And he currently is 12.
12. Okay.
He's playing 14U baseball. He plays up. We spent 2 seasons playing on a national level team. Big. I mean, he's playing very well for his age. He's definitely a stud above and beyond. What's interesting about that story is I was a musician, right? I was full-time classical music. So I didn't play sports. I didn't play sports growing up. I didn't have sports skills. Actually, when I was a kid, I was terrified of catching the ball. If I was on the T-ball team or whatever it is, and you threw the ball to me, I would stand to the side and let it hit the ground. I wasn't about to get in front of it. So my kid, he out of nowhere, he was allergic to music. He wanted nothing to do with music. No music. And okay, that's fine. So, we're just kind of waiting now to see like what's he going to be interested in. And one day he comes home and it's sports. And all right, well, let's get into sports. So in order to be involved in his world, I had to learn about sports. I don't know anything about watching football or baseball or I don't know. I don't know what
Well,
the
at least
rules
your
are.
son chose the best sport in the world, so
Yeah.
he's got
So
good
I had
taste.
to learn, right? So I'm like watching videos and I'm watching games with him and asking him what's going on and having him explain it. But then he really takes to baseball. And he's always been just bigger, faster, stronger, more skilled. Just naturally, it's just come to him. And so he has always thrown way harder than
Mm-hmm.
any of his peers. Right now,
Yeah. So
he's
what? How old is he? You say he's 12, right?
he's
How
12, he's
fast you
12 and a
throwing?
half. He's 12 and a half right now, and he throws upper 60s.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty quick for a
it's
12 year
pretty
old.
quick for 12. We've got a couple things in his body that we're refining, but 70's right around the corner. Once he hits puberty, whenever that's going to
Is he
be,
left-handed?
he's a lefty. Yeah,
Oh snap!
it
Yeah.
could be
Mm-hmm.
75 or 80, right? So 2 years ago, he was only throwing, I don't know, 55. And I I would go to the batting cages during the day with my catcher's gear to practice catching the ball because I was so afraid. And I would do that until my body would calm down. And it took years of that to learn how to deal with my fear so that I could be involved in my son's life,
Yeah.
so that I could be actually helpful
Yeah.
catching
Mm-hmm.
for him instead of, I'm sorry, you're throwing too fast. I can't catch for you. You'll have to get with your friends. So now here he is throwing upper 60s. He's going to, I mean, 70s just a couple
Mm-hmm.
months away. It's coming. And I'm getting it better, right? I'm getting better, but I realize he's going to hit puberty, and now we're talking about 75 or 80.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to grow to that level so that I can still be involved in a meaningful way in his life, I might have to start taking catching lessons.
Hey, I used to be a catcher, so you hit me
Oh,
up,
wow.
man. Yeah, so I was I played D2, college ball catcher, so I got you covered.
Wow. Wow. Man, right now my problem is I get thumbed a lot. If it
Yeah,
gets on that outside,
yeah,
I don't know, my brain.
yeah. Well, yeah, you gotta look up some framing exercises. So obviously you're not playing the game, right? But like part of the catcher's job is like to make the pitch look a little bit better than it is,
Yep.
And so yeah, you're having to frame it, the right way, and so.
So that's my kiddo's life. Surprisingly, in the past year or so, he has taken an interest in music,
Yeah,
which is something I can actually speak intelligently to. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful because he will practice music with me.
yeah.
So like he gets out his cello and I sit next to him and we like play the same songs together. And I don't, it won't always be like this, right? At
Mm.
some point he's going to be a teenager and he has to carve his own path in the world. But right now he lets me participate.
Yeah,
Very
no,
thankful.
that's awesome, and that's I mean awesome on you to like we were talking about earlier, take an interest in what he has an interest in, right? And let him know that you support him, you hear him, you understand, that's his interest. You want to be involved in it, and luckily right now my two girls are 6 and 4, and they're really into softball, so I know a lot about that, but. That may change at some point, right? Like my youngest one is extremely artistic. She loves drawing, loves coloring, and so I imagine at some point, she'll kind of transition and say, I don't want to play softball anymore, and that'll be fine. Like whatever she takes a liking to, like I'm gonna learn about it and support her on whatever journey she's on.
That's right. It's not my life to live.
Yep.
It's your life. I remember when he was born, and I was in the symphony. And so he's born, and my symphony friends are just like coming out of the woodwork. They're like, "Ooh, what instrument is he going to play?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't know. How about we let him choose?
Yeah.
Or what if he doesn't want to play?
Mm.
He wants to be a board member or an audience member. Regardless, how about we let him choose?"
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel like us, especially us as dads, like, we can push our kids on a lot of things, and I think that ultimately that's part of our job too, right? It is to push them and to get them outside their comfort zone. But we need to be doing it for the right reasons. It doesn't need to be us pushing them in a direction because we want it. It needs to be us pushing them in the direction that they desire, but we're showing them that they're capable of more than they think of, like in that direction, I don't know. Like I said, my kids are super young, 6 and 4, and we'll have some coaches, that we're playing against are like, taking it way too seriously for like 6-year-old softball, and like living vicariously through their kids. And it's just very obvious. And it's like, no, you need to let them have their own journey, and you're just supposed to support them along the way.
Yes. There's this old verse in the Bible, raise up a child in the way he should go.
Hmm.
That word way isn't what we think of as way. We think of as way as the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're like, well, it's my job to teach him the right political party and the right religion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what it's saying. It's not saying raise him up in your way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the actual word is bent. And it's the idea that a tree branch shoots off the main trunk, but that branch has kind of a bent to it. It has a tendency to favor this over that. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is more support his natural tendencies, mm-hmm. raise him up in the way he seems to be bent. Mm-hmm. And this is that idea. Are they attracted to arts? Well, support their arts. Are they attracted to sports? Support their sport. I mean,
yeah. And on that lens of like political idea and religion and things like that, like I feel like, at least from my perspective, I feel like it's my job as a dad to try to instill like the proper values. But I feel like at some point in time, like, they're not going to be baby bird anymore, right? Like they're going to be making their own decisions. And so I feel like that's why it's the job of the dad to early on to instill those values and teach them why things are important, right? And when you make these decisions, this is what you need to be thinking about. But at some point in time, like you're going to have to let them have those own decisions, and to start to make their own decisions. And if there's consequences associated with those, then that's okay. But you kind of have to let them be their own person.
There's 3 stages, main stages that they go through. In the beginning, you keep them alive, right?
Yeah.
You have to keep them safe and sheltered and fed. You have to keep them alive in the beginning. In the middle, you don't have to keep them alive anymore. And they are starting to be able to live on their own. So in the middle, it's kind of like a guide. Mm. Hey, I've been down this road before. There's a dead end.
Yep.
And then the next one is they're on their own, fully self-sufficient. What tends to happen is we like the previous stage. We enjoy keeping them alive. We feel more needed. We feel more useful. We feel more meaningful. They have moved on to the second stage where they're fine. They could just use occasional guidance. Mm-hmm. And we're still trying to keep them alive. We're stuck in the past. They've moved on. And then we complain at why is this relationship breaking down? Well, it's breaking down because you're fulfilling a role that doesn't exist anymore. And you're trying to force them into that. Mm-hmm. And then they go to the next stage where they're on their own and we're still trying to be their guide. Like they're in their 20s and we're trying to give them advice.
Yeah.
They've moved on.
Yeah.
If you want to maintain relationship, you have to be able to take the turn in the road. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Jarrod, I want to let people know where they can find you. You mentioned, kind of doing that mental map, right? And I want to give the people an opportunity to get to know you better. I know you've got some TED Talks out there. You guys can literally just, Google Jarrod's name, right? And you'll find some TED Talks out there you guys can listen to. But where can they find you on social media or on a website or anything like that, Jarrod?
Social media, I'm most active on Facebook, Jarrod Haning. Website, mindsetperformance.co, CO, 2 digits at the end, mindsetperformance.co. You can find the mind scan, try it for yourself, money back guarantee. You get an amazing report, you get an amazing review with somebody just kind of pouring through your thinking patterns and celebrating your wins, celebrating your strengths, and also showing you how other people think. So you can kind of begin to piece together what it would look like for you to be thinking on the level and with the strategies that their mind is using. Just an amazing experience. About 30% of the people who go through that are in tears because they find it so just confirming and encouraging, empowering, just in a way that almost nothing else does. But it's Nobel nominated for a reason. Mindsetperformance.co.
Okay. Yeah. Too easy to remember, guys. Yeah. I mean, I think it's hugely valuable. Just the conversation that we had today, literally I wrote down a couple of things here. And because with these, a lot of times I'm taking notes too. So, if you guys see me looking off screen, I find this extremely valuable too. So I'm taking notes. I wrote down a couple of things really about the blinders, right? That, what did I write down? I wrote down, you're already doing what you can do, right? And so if you could do something different, you would have already done it, right? Is the big one to me. And then same thing, that everything that you're thinking of, if you would have thought of the right thing, it would have made a difference. And so, basically it just kind of confirms those facts that there are going to be things that you just don't know, right? Like you never thought to think this way. And so, it's not like you shouldn't feel bad that you haven't had some of the results that you've had if you tried everything you can, right? A lot of times it's something that you're just not aware of, so that was huge to me as well. So guys, go check out Jarrod. Jarrod, thank you, man, for coming on. We're gonna definitely have to get together and do some catching lessons. If
please,
nothing else,
I'm tired of my thumb being hurt, man.
So, but guys, that's gonna wrap for the episode, and definitely go give Jarrod a follow. Go check out his talks and go check out the website. So, Jarrod, thank you so much, man, for coming on. Really enjoyed the discussion.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, we will see you on the next episode.